Okay, let's turn Ozempic. Royalty-free music I have in the background, like you're at a dentist office. Yeah, it's February 23rd. It's Friday. TGIF. Remember that? I remember that. Oh, yeah. TGIF. And all the right privileges, too. Thank goodness it's Friday. It's another day in the day of what's going on in the world. I've got a Trump lawyer, Alina Hubba, says New York AG, Attorney General Letitia James will not get her hands on Trump buildings. Oh, yeah, you can be sure of that. Oh, my God. No, that ain't happening. He has the wherewithal to come up with any kind of cash. But, $400 million in cash is serious money. So that has to be taken into account. So you notice there we go. Oh, there's my I passed my continuing ed class. I give you a 30-question quiz, and they tell you to pick the best answer. Well, wait a minute. What do you mean the best answer? You mean you got more than one answer that's kind of like good, and some are better than others? Oh boy. Okay. Well, I'm going to get rid of this view because it's too confusing to see me, like ex post facto. There we go. That's the traditional view. And, yeah, the microphone, aimed right at the right point. It's like an X-ray machine. Anyway, take a look down here. 79 degrees on my patio, and it's 68 degrees in my little studio here. 68.2 to be exact. And there's a little arrow that says it's falling. Oh, crap. I just turned the thermostat up. It should be rising. That little arrow should say rising, but it's not. It says falling. It's Friday. It's 10:23 a.m., February 23rd. Yep, 2024. And counting. Okay. I just made a brief mention of Ozempic the other day. Now this is, let's put this right here. This is that new, it's not so new, it's new to me. What? There's my prescription from Publix Pharmacy. James Wilson, pharmacy number 0553. Half a milligram dose by pen. Once a week, injection. Stick it right in there. Push the button on the top, and it puts in a half a milligram of Ozempic. You start off at a quarter milligram, then you go to half a milligram, then you go to 1 milligram once a week. So I'm going to send a fax to my doctor, Dr. Thomas Lubin, to tell him I don't have any more refills, and I need you to write my prescription that says 1 milligram dosages every week. 1 milligram, 1.0 milligram dose pen. It's a different pen. It has a slightly different color. With this, see the Ozempic. Whoop, there we go. Trying to not get it to glare. Ozenpic. And there's like a red band around here. There's a red band around the box. I mean, they're really color coded here. Now, in this little kit, you get the pen, and then you get 4 needles, which you screw on the end of the pen. The pen is already preloaded with the semaglutide, SEMA glutide. That's how you pronounce that. It's a semaglutide injection. There are other glutides. You've probably seen them on commercial, like RO, which you can Google at your leisure. Ozempic, that you can Google at your leisure. Let's come up here and see if I can find where I have all my Ozempic stuff. It's up here a few days. Look at all these pictures. There's a bazillion pictures. There we go. Let's do that one. Yeah, see that picture right there? This was, oh my God. That's back in January. Holy miracle there, Andy. So here you go. This is the pen I'm using now. See, half a milligram. There's a better picture of it, live in stereo vision. See, here's the 3 different pens. Ozempic, see the 0.25 in there? Well, you can dial also to 0.50. And then this one, the middle one, with like a blue-green band around it, which I'm sure there's probably a blue-green band around the box. And it says 1 milligram. And there's a pointer right there on 1. That's all it does is 1. 1 milligram, and you give yourself an injection once a week. And then you do that for a couple months. Excuse me. And then you decide if you want to elevate to the 2 milligram pen. I would, I want to get to the 1 milligram because I'm at the half milligram now. I'll tell you what, it is, it's supposed to protect your heart from major cardiovascular events. And it helps prevent stroke. That's important. We don't want stroke. We don't want heart attacks. And we don't want death. Those are the 3 things that this pen, when they first came out with it, they emphasized the death part. They've gotten off that. And they said it is, it's magical because it really helps you with your A1C, it really it's unbelievable how it smooths out the the curves in your blood sugar. I mean, it does a fantastic job. I rarely take any what do you call it, insulin shots, because the Ozempic, it works on your A1C, which means it works on your daily glucose levels, and it, it really does. I mean, I'm like amazed on what a job it does. There you go. See, there's that box. Ozempic. And on the side of the box, you can see, let's get off the Ozempic. There you go. You see, when you open up the pen, right where my thumb is, that's where you screw on the needle. And that looks like this. You screw on this thing onto the front of that little thing, and then you pull the cap off, and you, of course, in this case, you dial it to either 0.25 or 0.50. With this pen, it has one setting, 0 and 1 milligram. And it has four doses once a week. I do it on Sunday, about 10 o'clock in the morning. So this is the pen I get next. And you see the wrapper around the pen is not red anymore, it's this turquoise color. Now, here's two of them. This is the 1 milligram one. That's probably the most popular one. See, and here's the one, see, with the red. I held that in my hand, and there you go. Single patient only. You don't want to pass that around to the neighbors. The first one is red. And the second pen, in a couple of months, it would be this one, the 1 milligram pen. So you see here, the needle is screwed on there already. Here's the needle sealed in its little, you see it's got a little, it's too bright. There you go. You peel this tab off, and then you can screw it on. It covers this up. Because until you're going to screw it on the pen, you don't want bacteria and stuff floating around in there. So that's hermetically sealed to prevent contamination. It's like a thing on a Band-Aid, You don't want to be touching the pad on the Band-Aid because that goes on the wound, and you don't want to introduce bacteria and particulate matter into your wound cut. Anyway, so this is the second pen. Whoops. So I'm going to be telling my doctor I want that one. Starting, I want him to write the prescription next week. So I'm going to write him a fax today, and probably send it. Send it today because they work, a few hours. They work half day. I don't know what they do on Saturday, to be honest. So here's the 3 pen. The half milligram, the 1 milligram, and the 2 milligram pen. Here's a half or quarter milligram, 1 milligram, 2 milligram. And the reason why they have the 3 is because, if you you have someone that's really obese, and not that this is a weight loss thing, but usually heavy people, obese people, have an A1C up around 8 or 9. My A1C is around, well, it's around 7. Now it's around 6.2. It's pretty good. And the blood sugar is nice and steady. So instead of taking 16 units of insulin a day, I'm down to, 0, unless I know I'm going to have a big bowl of rice. Rice, I don't know if it's for everybody, but right, pew, my blood glucose level goes shooting up to like 250. So I take, like if I was going to go down to lemongrass for lunch today at 11:45 or 1:45, I'd take a shot of insulin before I would go down to lemongrass in my building on the first floor, as you probably remember. Anyway, so that's I just wanted to show you that. What's rattling around in there is the pen goes on this side, and over on this side is a strip of 4 needles for the 4 weeks, just once a week. All right, enough of that. Oh, let's get out of there. God, that was January. Holy mackerel. That's amazing when you're having a good time. So let's get back to February 23rd. Yep, there we are. The last week of February. I think I have a lunch with Bill on Thursday. Coming this Thursday. So Trump is trumping. He says South Carolina primary tomorrow. They vote on Saturday, all day Saturday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. So we'll see. He's like 25 points ahead of Nikki. Tricky Nikki. Who knows what she's doing. I think Trump had it right during his last interview with Laura Ingraham. She said something about, with Nikki. And he basically said, she said something like, what do you think she's doing? And he said, I think she doesn't know how to get out of the race. She doesn't know how to stop. She's getting money from donors. Do this and do that. And, it's hard to pass up people when they're handing you the $100,000 checks. And you don't want to turn that money away and say, you know what, sweetie, or sir, gentlemen, I'm suspending. They don't stop. They suspend. Because that way they can unsuspend if something happens, where they get it back in the race. Yeah. Anyway, so she could suspend her operations, on Sunday or Monday, or Tuesday, whenever and her team is going to say, run. They're so used to run. They can't get it in their thing. All right, I guess we have to stop, because if we stop, whoosh, then you go home and you don't get paid anymore. But if you keep run, these people keep getting paid. So the Nikki people have to realize that you have to know how to stop, and you have to have the guts to stop. Because you're hearing rah, skips come by, and all your advisors are telling you stuff you want to hear, And the last thing you want to hear is, maybe you should pull out. Well, they don't ever say that, because if you pull out, that means they stop getting paid. Ever think of that? So her close advisors, probably encourage her to keep going, because that way they keep getting their weekly check. They pay them weekly, because at any minute they can pull the rug out from under, and that's the end of that paycheck. Well, that's how it works. I'm told. I've never ran a campaign. All right, what's this? Nancy Mace stays close to Trump ahead of a tough primary fight. I don't think it's very tough, actually. Super Tuesday comes up, like the week, like March 4th or something. It's the week after, next. In 2 weeks, you got Super Tuesday, where you got, like 20 states all having primaries at the same time. And, that basically produces more than half of the delegates. And if you get more than half the delegates, basically it's over, because the other person can't get more than half if you have more than half, because a half and a half is a whole. So, the obverse of I got more than half is the other person has less than half. There you go. See how complicated this running for office is? Oh boy, it's a lot more complicated than that. All right. Oops. These iPhones. There we go. Which I have one right here, which you can see I'm jiggling it. 23 minutes and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds. That's telling you how much time I've been yakking on this little daily broadcast I have on weekdays. And you can see up on the top of the streamer, you can call me or you can text message me live. It'll pop up right on my iPhones and iPads, all simultaneously. So I could see your text immediately on my devices, and I could answer you verbally or by text. I could text you back. But if you had a text message, I'd read it carefully and make sure it is, readable. It doesn't have any bad words in it or something. Anyway, so the miraculous thing about the iPhone is the way it updates the whole operating system over the air. It sends you a message and says, or this little, you see that little icon down in the very lower left corner. It looks like gears. I'll touch it. Of course, the gears don't show up when you open it. But anyway, that gear thing is settings and about. And you see iPad OS version 17.4. I'm a beta tester. A beta tester for Apple. See, betaapple.com. There we go. I'm wiggling it for you. iPad 17.4 version 21E5209B. All right. So that's that's the most current version that's popping out into our devices. And if we were to take a look at what this is about. So I have a 1 terabyte storage capacity. Yeah, little bitty chip, 1,000. You know, you have 1 billion bytes. Well, if you got 1,000 billion bytes, that's a tetrabyte. So if you got, so a terabyte is 1,024 gigabytes. So I'm using something less than 520. So if you take that and subtract that, I have about 470 or 80, 475 gigabytes that I'm using for the 900 songs I got on here, 425 videos, 83,046 photos, and 679 applications. You can see that on this list here. AT&T Carrier version 58.0 is my data cellular number because I buy these iPads with cellular built in. Highly recommend it. It's an extra $130. So if you're going to spend 1,000, you might as well spend 1,130, and that way you connect to the 5G service or 4G service or 3G service, depending on what what kind of a cellular system you got going. If you look over in the top, let's do this. There we go. Ooh, see in the very top, right above the banner that's scooting by there. See, it says 100%, and then to the left of that, you see, the baseball diamond. That means you're on, Wi-Fi. But I also have a cellular connection, built into the iPad. And you see it's 4 strong bars, even though I'm inside a building. So that's good. They got a couple of towers. I know the towers are there, and I know they installed stuff on top. But see, they got to check it out, and it takes them a month to test it out. Well, apparently the tests worked because I have 4 bars inside now, and let's see how this iPad. I have 4 bars on this. This one. This one shows 3 bars. It's on the same network. It's just, this one shows 4 bars. Now, let's see. Test. We have the test thing here. There it is, speed test. This will tell me what's going on with the internet speed. All right, 200, 280, going for 300, and 3, and the 4, and the 5. Do I hear 300? Do I hear 320? It's like an auction. See it right there, 311, 3. Do I hear 312? Yeah, that's what I got. That's the download speed, and this is the upload speed. Like if I wanted to add pictures to my 416-1100 thing, website, 416-1100.com. That's actually a website. If I push this icon right here, it's going to go to 416-1100. Oh, there it is. And you see in the very top, right underneath the banner, 416-1100.com. Be there, be square. And look at this picture. If you haven't seen it, it's the International Polo Club in South Florida. There you go. 2 players, they click their sticks, and you see the cane. The sticks are made of the mallets they have. They clicked, and that's a special sound that you hear, and they call that something. And I can't remember what they call that when they click the sticks like that. As opposed to slamming the mallets against each other. See, and they're going after this ball, and the horses are rolling. And you can see by the hoof, that hoof's off the ground, this hoof's off the ground. These horses are special horses. Because these riders are pulling and pushing them around and all that kind of stuff. You know, they ride about 10 or 20 minutes and they swap horses right away. You get some fresh legs, as they say, in the horse business, which I know basically nothing about. Oh, there's Marilyn with Jay Leno. Remember him? If I push on that picture, let's see what happens. There he is. Sleepy eyes, big chin, Jay Leno. Nice gentleman. I said, do you mind if you just step over here and say hello to my wife and let me take a picture? Yeah, she's a sweetie. I mean, I literally got in front of him with my camera. Because he was racing through the this event, so he wouldn't get tackled by people like me. I said, I'm sorry, Mr. Leno. I just had to, step in front of you for a second here because I don't see you that often. And I'd love to get a picture of you with Marilyn. And, we had press passes, all that kind of stuff. There's Marilyn and I conversing. And she took a picture, I think, with her iPhone because her big camera is hanging down. My camera's up here. Hers is down there. And somehow or other, got a picture in the shade. Taking a picture of the shade that we casted on the turf where these cars walked up. There's Jimmy. I'm looking right at you. Yipper. I don't know what that black bar is, but let's shrink that down to normal. There you go. The Boca Raton Concours d'Elegance. This is the 13th annual. There's the cover of the magazine that was created for this event. And the magazine is like a half-inch thick of really fine, beautiful, glossy pictures, pictorials of the year before. The 13th annual Concours d'Elegance, 24 February 2019, at 12 noon. Yeah. So I'm just paging through these pictures. So they have, a lot of antique cars inside of a Corvette. I had this Corvette. There's a chicken bar going across, and you slide your stuff in here. It was like an open glove box. There was no way of closing it. And it's an analog clock, which you can see. And here's your shifter lever. That's in park. And it comes up a notch and it's in reverse. And one more notch when it's straight up and down to be neutral. And then you got, drive and all that stuff. There we go. There's the analog clock. So it was 2:20 in the afternoon when I took this picture. You see the hands on the clock? Looks like 2:20. 2:21 maybe. And here's, one's a vent, and the other one is, air. Let's see if we can see what it says there. And one of them is temp. Another one is air. This one's air, and this one's temp. You pull them in and out. It's that when you turn. Is where you put your key. I think that's I'm going to guess a cigarette lighter in the days of cigarette lighting. Get that out of here. Today I'd plug in, so I had that. I had a car just like that. But it had a blue interior. It was blue and white. A blue panel, splash panel, and a white, total white body. But here's a speedometer. It goes 0 to 160, I believe. So 80, the speedometer needle is like straight up and down. But see, it's right straight in front of you. You don't have to look off to the side like you do with the Model Y, which, Elon was like full of garbage with that. All right, how do I get back to my... There we go. So, unique events. Let's do that. Here's the 15th annual, which I think I didn't take a lot of pictures. I got it all set up, and I put a few pictures in there from the 14th because I was going, and I couldn't get in. I could not get a press pass to get in there because the guy that, that was my lead contact passed away. And I didn't want to go snooping around. Who else should I ask? Because this poor guy died. Yeah, and he was a friend. So I went through my files and I found an email address and I contacted that email person and then I sent a request and she says, "Oh, I'm not managing this event this year. You have to get a hold of me." And I said, "Well, how do I get a hold of that person?" And I never heard back from her. She was busy on another call. I forget what. So let's go to the 14th annual and see what we got going there. Look at that. Oh, so here you go. Here's the red car. See? Red car, red interior. See, I had, let's see, I believe a white car with a blue panel. And this interior, I believe, was the blue of, like the blue panel. Yeah. Uh-huh. That's it. Corvette, 1958, 1959. This sucker might have been a 58. I had a 59. And it had dual headlights instead of single headlight, if I remember. And it didn't have these little suckers. Now, either that was added on or it's a 58. Because, and if that's true, then there should be two chrome things on the back of the trunk. Oops, sorry. Let's see if I have the back. There's the back, sort of. There's the front. I keep on banging into the microphone, sorry. Aha. See, now here the trunk didn't have there's two chrome things. Close that. You see, there should be two chrome things on there. So they either replace that trunk with the trunk that didn't have the chrome. Could this be a 57? I mean, maybe it's 57, 58, 59. I had a 59. It was the last year before the Stingray. Maybe this is a 57. Let's see. Is there anything about those license tags? Touch that picture. No. Ouch, sorry. Go back. There we go. I'm on my site now. And it doesn't work the same as my iPad works. There we go. We're paging through took a picture of all these cars. And it's very, so you see how it's all laid out? The cars are all going up and down the middle of the driving range at the Boca Resort. And you can sit up here underneath the trees if you get tired, which I got tired. You know, it was hot and tired. You know, it was 88 degrees and you get in the sun and it's, you know, higher. So when we had enough of walking around and taking pictures, which we certainly took a few pictures, we had a cocktail or something, you know, a soda, Coca-Cola probably, and bought a hot dog for ourselves. And that's it. Oops. There we go. Look at that, it's 11 o'clock. Whoops. Yeah, there you go. 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. You can see my watch, sort of. Anyway, so that's a nice thing to do. And it's like a half a mile from where we live. So one time we walked. Actually, we drove with an Uber and then walked back home. We should have done that in reverse order. Because by the time you get done with this, your legs aren't ready to walk another mile or so, or a half mile. There's the Thunderbird, about the same year as the Corvette I had. See, now here's the 60. That's the rear end of the Corvette. The next year, if you can remember from the other picture I took. We go back. There we go. Yeah, see, that's the 59 or 58. Maybe that was 58 or 57. Back in the day, when I drove that car, I knew exactly what, you know, the first 10 years of the Corvette. And the 1961 started that Stingray back, like that gray one. Where is it? Oops. Slow down through here. It's got to be in there somewhere. We just tagged it a second ago. There's Jimmy with his camera. Yep. Motorcycles. Yeah, see, there's the back over here and the front of the Stingray. 1960, 59, 1960. 60, 61, 62. This might have been 63, the 10-year anniversary. So in 60, they changed the rear end, but not the front end. And then they had another one like this. And then in 63, they started with this, you know, pointy looking, you know, that was like the 63 Corvette. I didn't, you know, as a classic Corvette driver, this model right here that I'm standing next to, I like that car. Anyway, so that's so there. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Anyway, so on my website, 4161100.com, 416 hyphen 1100. My email address is 416.1100.com. We did a speed test. We did so the operating system of the iPhone, which are contained in this little guy, you know, it's like loading a new operating system into your computer. So about every 2 weeks, I get an update because I'm the beta tester. So I use the software that's not available to the general public. If I come across something that just doesn't work right, I have a little app on this panel, which you can't see hardly, is one of these icon things that's like purple with a purple exclamation point in the middle of it, and that's where I go to send them messages about what's up, and you have to say what's about. You go through a whole litany of choices, so that way it puts the message in the goes through all these filters so it gets in the right bucket, so people can what operating system you have, what's your phone, which phone model, it goes through this whole litany of questions with these menu choices as you go down when you're in this response app. And when you come across something, you tell the engineers at Apple what you experienced, and then they try to repeat it and see the problem, and then they go and they make a recommendation to the programmers to change the code. CODE, code. So that's what a beta tester does. And then they keep going through this over and over and over every 2 weeks. And then they have a week to identify, repeat the error, and then fix it. And then they store it in the software. And then 2 weeks later, you got another version. And maybe they fixed your problem, maybe they didn't. Maybe something else caused this problem. The software is very sophisticated, and the updating is very sophisticated. It sounds simple, but it's not simple. Because I know something about coding. I was a coder. Today they call them a coder. In my day, they call it a programmer. I was a programmer. Now you're a coder. You write code. Well, back in my day, it was COBOL, Common Business Oriented Language, they called it. It was a multi-platform language. And you wrote the code on these coding sheets, and then you hand them off to the girls, and they would type up these cards, stack of cards. And they'd feed all those cards into the, like a Burroughs computer, because that's what I was coding for. And it came out with some raw software, and then you had to compile it, which then created the machine language, which was actually loaded into the machine. People don't have these laptops all over the place. The computers were, in the hands of the office, people that have major offices, personnel offices. I was specializing on writing software for the personnel system for a business with hundreds of or thousands or tens of thousands of employees. And it would, keep all the records and you have all the codes for, your degrees, advanced degree, high school. So you had all these different brackets off your resume and brackets of your age and your department you worked in and, your name. How about that? Your social security number. I think we put that in there. Anyway, so I was a coder back in the day. I'm talking about 60, 69. How about that? 69, 70. All right, here. Greg Goodfellow. Look at this guy. in the mind of Google Gemini, which is their new, they renamed their AI application that's in Google. Like you got Google Maps and Google, search and whatever, or just Google, for searching information off of from the world. Now they have Google Gemini, which I haven't actually tried to use. And if you try to go back into the history of the United States, back in the days of George Washington and all that, and the Federalist Papers, and then you click on, one of the features of Google Gemini, come up with what you think these people look like. What did George Washington look like? Well, it came up, with the hair and everything, but the guy was black. What? Where did that come from? We've been thinking he's the white guy for a long time. He came over on the boat. He's and not the boat from Africa. He came from the boat from, a European boat, not the African cruise ship. Anyway, so that's why, Greg, in the minds of Google Gemini, white people simply don't exist. They wiped out the white people that started this country. I mean, I heard the broadcast last night. He's Greg's a wise guy. He's a funny guy. So he comes off with but they actually did it. They were investigating the whole, signing of the Constitution, and all the people standing around with the white hair and the funny hats were all black people. Black faces. Oh boy. So there's something, programming doesn't come out of hyperspace. People, program computers to do things. Artificial intelligence, that doesn't mean that the computer did it itself. Oops. Computer, stop. Computer, stop. I used the word computer too loud. And Alexa started yakking, which is behind me. If you're wondering what that background noise was. Oh my God. Anyway, so, when AI is basically computer software, that's software of the software of the software, multi-generational software. But it ends up in the hands of people. People actually begin that link of software. And, I have a car. I have a Tesla car, right? It's loaded with artificial intelligence because the programmers, said, if you put on autopilot, not full self-driving, just autopilot, which is the Tesla term for cruise control. 5 years before I had the Tesla, I had a Honda or Toyota Camry or whatever, and you flipped up or flipped down a lever and turned on the cruise control. So that would basically control your speed. It had nothing to do with steering, as I recall. So if you had the cruise control on, let's say 70 miles an hour, and the traffic slowed down in front of you, the car would automatically slow down also so that you wouldn't run into the back end of the car. And you didn't have to worry about braking or accelerating because that was controlled with the cruise control. Now, autopilot in a Tesla means that does the same thing with cruise control. You can set what your top speed will be. And if the car in front of you turns off the highway and you continue on I-95, for example, um, let's say you have it set to go up to 70 miles an hour. And if someone comes in front of you at 62 miles an hour, then your car will slow down to 62 and keep a distance of, I set it for like 6 car lengths. And you can set the number of car lengths, 1 through 7. So if I'm going as fast as, legally available, I set it at 7 car lengths. But if it's, a 65 mile an hour I-95, I set it at 6 car lengths. Anyway, so, but the autopilot in a Tesla will also keep you in the middle of your lane. But you got, a dotted line between lanes, and you got a solid white line down on the right side. Assuming you're in the right, R-I-G-H-T, right lane. So if you have it on, you click down, one click down on your right stalk. It goes into autopilot. It picks up, what you set for the maximum speed. It picks up the 6 car lengths following distance, right? And it keeps you in the center of the lane. And it'll keep you in the center of the lane all the way up to New Jersey. Or New York. I-95 goes all the way up there. Now you've got turns and this and that, but it's very good at keeping you in the center lane. It's very good at traffic that slows down, and you press another lever, and you can pass somebody, and it will look at the right time to pass to make sure you don't crack into someone on your left side and all that. So autopilot, that's what that does. It's like an advanced cruise control. Now, full self-driving, that's another step further, where it's hands off the wheel, but you're not allowed to take your hands off the wheel yet because it's in beta. Now, there's supposed to be a version coming out, any quarter now, and I've been hearing that for the entire 3 years I've been driving this car. I was going to say owned. I'm leasing it because you lease this high technology. You don't want to own it because, I'm going to get another one in a couple of months or in a month or whatever. They tell me. They want to turn the cars in early, apparently, which is fine with me. So instead of a 36-month lease, it turns out to be a 34-month lease, and they'll not charge you the last 2 months if you agree to buy or lease another car, 2 months early. And they asked me, and I said, yes, let's do it. So I went through the credit application, and they said, you're approved. I photographed the driver's licenses front and back for the registration information. I sent them a copy of a prior registration, which kind of verifies the address. Anyway, that's how that goes. So, I don't do anything until like March 8th. I get back on hold of this guy and say, okay, what's up? His name is Mike. Mike, now what? He said, go ahead and order the car. And as soon as I get the tick, I'll put a hold on that order so that you don't end up with 2 cars and an extra lease payment because we got to wait until, he says, I'm not sure whether you pay the third, He said, tell me when there's 3 payments left. And I said, well, it should be the March 11th. This should be my third to the last payment. March, April, May. Turn it in June 11th. And some accrual in some days, but I either make that March payment or I don't. If I make the payment, then you're going to figure me for 2 months. Yeah. So I paid the March payment, and then we got April, May, and somewhere in there, assuming sometime in March, you'd have another car ready for me. So that's the plan. All right. 1 hour, 1 minute, and 44 seconds. I see it right there. There it is. So we're gonna say goodbye. I think I'm gonna get myself readied up, and maybe I'll go down to Lemongrass and have a little miso soup and a pinto box with what do you call it? Stir fried scallops and brown rice and all that. All right, so you all have a nice lunch, have a nice afternoon, and have a nice weekend because it's TGI Friday. Bye-bye.